Now at 9, we'll break down a ballot question in Missouri that will legalize the recreational use of marijuana. Plus, how the Jasper County Sheriff's Office will be spending a big donation, and how some McDonald County students honor a local soldier who died in battle.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. Multiple people are injured at Silver Dollar City following a train derailment. Authorities say they responded to calls about multiple injuries, and witnesses say the Frisco Silver Dollar line steam train crashed around 6 p.m. There is no word yet on the severity of the injuries. Those for and against the legalization of recreational marijuana in Missouri are speaking out. Missouri voters will decide on November 8th whether to legalize cannabis. KOAM Shagun Bandali reports on the arguments for and against the three.
If the constitutional amendment passes, it will remove the state's prohibition of selling, buying, manufacturing and delivering, possessing of marijuana for personal use for adults over the age of 21.
Driving under the influence would still remain prohibited. Public use would be prohibited and regulated by local governments. And then it would also expunge automatically previous marijuana offenses, with the exceptions of anything involving violence, sales to minors, or also DUI.
Payne says it could help increase the economic development across the state.
Revenue generation for the state of Missouri. So after a couple years, 2-3 years, we think this market is going to be probably about $1 billion in new legally regulated revenues.
However, police officers do have a concern about the amendment and possibly wider use of cannabis.
Affects your ability to concentrate, it slows your reaction time, it distorts your judgment or your perception of things, and those are all concerning factors with regard to driving a motor vehicle.
Sergeant Delzell says personal responsibility will be key to keep users out of trouble with the law.
We want people to use good decision making and be responsible, know their limits, just like with alcohol. It's important that people know those limits and take action to be responsible. Having a designated driver, those things are extremely important.
Reporting in Joplin, Shagun Mamdile, KOAM News.
You can find voting information and a breakdown of races in the upcoming midterm election on our website at komnewsnow.com. Authorities say they've identified and charged a suspect in a hit-and-run death of a man of an Aurora, Missouri man. The incident happened in rural Berry County in July. Authorities say 38-year-old Patrick Anderson was killed when a pickup truck failed to yield and struck his motorcycle. They say the driver of the truck fled the scene and was later picked up by an unknown driver. Authorities have now charged 19-year-old Derek Coburn in that case. He's charged with multiple crimes, including second-degree murder and leaving the scene of an accident. To see a full breakdown of how the police captured Coburn and a full list of his charges, download the KOAM News Now app. One construction worker is dead and 2 others are injured following a bridge collapse northwest of Kearney, Missouri this afternoon. Authorities say workers were pouring concrete for the deck of the bridge when it fell. The bridge, which was replacing an older bridge, spanned Carroll Creek. Investigators have not given further details about what caused the collapse. And now we move on to weather. Doug, what do you have for us?
Well, it turned out to be a nice day for us today. We have plenty of sunshine across the region. Temperatures pretty good, up to 67, average high 67. So right where we should be for the last week of October. And of course, we're cooling down now, anywhere from 50 in Stockton. We have Miami at 54, Pittsburgh 54, Parsons at 55 degrees. Clear skies. We may get a few clouds in here late tonight due to the beginnings of our next storm system, which are getting going up across parts of Nebraska, and then this stretches all the way back into the Central Plains, or actually the Central Rockies. 45 in the morning, 48 by 9, 60 by noon. High temperature, very similar to what we saw today, about 65, except the winds are going to pick up just a little bit. A lot more clouds, weekend rain chances. We're going to look at Halloween. You can check out the latest blog at KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll talk about it all here in just a bit.
McDonald High School held a ceremony dedicating a memorial highway in honor of a former student. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has more.
The JROTC program of McDonald County High School dedicated a memorial highway to honor a fallen hero, Christopher Lee Marion.
He was special. And now he's up there with the good Lord.
When Chris was deployed to Iraq in 2006, his military patrol vehicle hit a roadside bomb.
Too many of our boys and girls have made the same sacrifice. All of them need to be honored, all the way.
The Marion family has been waiting for 4 years to honor Chris with a memorial highway.
Yes, we knew the day was coming. I know the sickness that's going around hurt a lot, yes. And we're just waiting and glad that it happened.
Honoring a former student who gave his life to serve his country inspires younger cadets to follow in his footsteps.
I would tell Chris that we all miss him and that, we really honor and respect everything that he's done for us.
This ceremony reminded students that Chris was just like them.
When I think about it as a student that walked through our hallways, it sometimes brings a tear to my eye. I mean, somebody that could have been right next to you when you're in school.
Reporting in Anderson, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Christopher Lee Marion was a lifelong resident of Pineville and graduated from McDonald County High School in 2005. A local bank today made a big donation to the Jasper County Sheriff's Office. The Arvis Foundation donated $10,000 for new equipment. Things such as bulletproof vests, carriers, body camera mounts, and equipment for cybercrime fighting.
In law enforcement, there's an expectation that we're going to be totally transparent in everything that we do, which is great, and the body cameras is the best way to do that, right? So we have the ability to capture all of our interactions with the public via body camera.
The Arvis Foundation says it seeks to provide funding that creates positive change for others. Election debates usually help undecided voters choose a candidate. But in Pennsylvania, Tuesday night's debate has left some even more uncertain on how to vote. Fox's Molly Henneberg reports from Washington.
After much speculation over whether he could handle it and if he should even do it, Pennsylvania Democratic Lieutenant Governor and Senate candidate John Fetterman, who suffered a stroke back in May, finally debated his Republican opponent, Dr. Mehmet Oz. At times, Fetterman seemed to struggle to answer the questions.
You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, I don't support fracking at all. So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I do support fracking.
Oz stayed away from the stroke issue, but Fox News medical contributor Dr. Mark Siegel says he has, quote, deep concerns after watching Fetterman in the one-hour debate.
It was clear to me that the left-sided stroke he had has affected the parts of his brain that have to do not just with hearing, not just with expressiveness, but also with deeper comprehension.
But Pennsylvania Democratic Senator Bob Casey says that Fetterman has, quote, made progress since his stroke and did well in the debate.
This idea that the speed of your response is somehow indicative of the way you would do the job is really faulty. I know this job well. John is prepared right now to be an effective senator.
Over the summer, Fetterman had a double-digit lead in some polls. Now that lead has shrunk to just over 1 point, and that was before last night's debate. In Washington, Molly Henneberg, Fox News.
We now take this time to honor tonight's Four-State hero. Charles Maroney, a Webb City native, served in the Marines during the Korean War. To Charles Maroney, we thank you, tonight's Four-State hero. And Doug is up next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, Player of the Year honors for a pair of Southwest Missouri football standouts. We'll have details in sports.
Look at it.
Well, definitely turned out to be a nice day for us today. Mid to upper 60s. We have plenty of sunshine across the region. And it looks like we're going to get some clouds, which are going to be increasing as we go through the next couple days. But still, temperatures overall look pretty good. Nice shot Indigo Sky Casino and Resort at Indigo, just outside of Seneca, Missouri. All right, most of us today, mid-60s for afternoon highs. Of course, we've dropped off a bit over the past couple hours. Sarcoxy 51, Neosho 50, Seneca's 52, 54 in Afton. We have Pittsburgh at 52, Yates Center sitting at 53. We can go to Joplin sitting at 52. So it's chilly. It's not bad. Humidity is at 57%. Through the rest of the night into the morning, 47 here at 11, 45 at 7, overnight low at 44, and then back into the 50s by 10 a.m. Clear skies here. We have some clouds to our north, some rain up across Nebraska into the Dakotas, and this is the beginnings of our next system. You can see it's spinning right out across parts of Idaho, and this is going to drop down deep into Texas over the next couple days. So here's Friday. We'll go into Saturday. You can see it right just to the east of Dallas. So that's a good distance south. So it keeps most of the rain across the southern parts of the plains. As it kicks out on Sunday, it lifts into southeastern parts of Missouri and then eventually into the Great Lakes. So it kind of skirts to our southeast close enough that we're going to have the clouds and even a few random showers. Thursday looks fine. 45 in the morning, 60 by noon, 64 by 5. A lot of mid and upper level clouds, a little windier than what we did see today. We're going to have southeasterly winds at about 10 to 20 and gusts a little bit higher than that, 25, nothing like this past weekend. We are going to have partly cloudy skies throughout the day. Here's the noon hour, near 60. As we get into the afternoon, most of us mid-60s, 64 in Neosho, 62 in Nevada, Parsons 64, Veneta about 66. Tomorrow night, some showers try to spread in. As they work in, they kind of fall apart. Here's 3 a.m. on Friday morning. Can't rule out a random shower, and then by Friday, this all presses to our south. So on Friday, we just have mostly cloudy skies, temperatures again into the 60s. But Friday night and Saturday morning, they try to creep up a little bit farther north in our direction, so we may get a few isolated showers in here by Saturday morning, but that's when our next really somewhat decent chance for rain is going to be. Even on Saturday, you can see most of the rain stays to our south. On Sunday, we get a few showers that kind of rotate through, so that's what we're going to see as we go over the weekend. Nothing really too strong, definitely nothing like what we had earlier this week, just a few random showers. 65 tomorrow, 63 on Friday. We hold near 60 over the weekend when those hit and miss showers. Halloween, 65, partly sunny skies. We'll look at your trick-or-treat forecast here in the second half hour.
There's certainly no complaints from the 4 states with, cooler temps and some rain chances.
Yeah, we'll take that.
All right, thank you, Doug. And coming up, trying to provide some relief to the high cost.
President Biden is cracking down on hidden fees to help Americans hurting from inflation. I'm Madla Rivera in Washington with the details coming up.
President Biden is announcing new actions to curb some of the costs paid by Americans at a time of high inflation. It's a move with an eye towards the midterms less than 2 weeks away. Fox's Madeline Rivera reports from Washington.
With the economy and inflation topping voters' concerns, President Biden is taking new steps to crack down on so-called junk fees to give Americans more breathing room.
They're unfair and they hit marginalized Americans the hardest, especially low-income folks and people of color.
Defined by the Federal Trade Commission as unnecessary, unavoidable, or surprise charges, junk fees can include overdraft fees, late fees, or hidden charges tacked onto hotel rooms or concert tickets.
Each year, these junk fees, in addition, that companies charge cost Americans tens of billions of dollars.
Now the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is effectively banning surprise overdraft fees and depositor fees. The latter are charges incurred by customers who deposit someone else's bounced check. Officials are also proposing rules that would require airlines to disclose fees up front and curbing fees charged by car dealers.
Some of these policies aren't going to happen overnight in a political timeline, but they are real, responsible policies.
But whether these actions are enough to win over voters is unclear. Inflation is still a challenge for Democrats as control of Congress hangs in the balance.
They're looking at their economy, and it's a pick your poison economy, and that doesn't make anybody very confident.
The president also touted dropping gas prices and says his administration is continuing to press oil companies to cut costs at the pump as the price of oil also also decreases. In Washington, Malta Rivera, Fox News.
Clorox recalls certain Pine Sol cleaning products over bacteria exposure concerns. The recall affects the Pine Sol scented multi-surface cleaners, Clorox Pro Pine Sol all-purpose cleaners, and Clorox Professional Pine Sol Lemon Fresh cleaners. Clorox, the parent company of Pine Sol, says the test found bacteria in some products that were made between January 2021 and September 2022. The CPSC urges consumers to stop using these items immediately. Fortunately, no incidents have been reported in connection to the recall. Respiratory illnesses combined with COVID-19 and the flu has doctors' warnings of a possible triple-demic. A virus known as RSV poses the biggest threat right now, mainly to younger children. One Fox News national correspondent has more.
A virus known as RSV puts pressure on hospitals across the country.
I think we can say that we are concerned.
According to the CDC, about 75% of pediatric beds are full. At Rady Children's Hospital in San Diego, some 400 children tested positive for the virus in the last 2 weeks. Dr. John Bradley says that's typically what he sees in December or January.
What we're seeing this year, which is really unique, is that all the viruses are now coming out all at the same time, all early.
RSV usually results in flu-like symptoms. It can cause severe complications in babies and toddlers if left untreated. Doctors say smaller children are more vulnerable after spending their early years inside due to COVID restrictions.
They physically look like they're breathing hard using all their different muscles, like the muscles in their neck, the muscles in their chest. Their nasal passages start flaring open like this.
Public health officials fear RSV could overlap with the beginning of flu season and further strain hospitals. They also expect COVID infections to rise in coming weeks as the CDC monitors a new COVID strain that caused a surge in cases overseas.
We were already preparing for the probability that there would be rising cases in the winter. It is extremely difficult to extrapolate based on what happens in one country, what's going to happen in another country.
Public health officials say COVID boosters and flu shots remain the best way to protect against these viruses. In Los Angeles, William Lajeunesse, Fox News.
Still ahead, the war in Ukraine sparking nuclear concerns.
Russia holds its annual missile drills as nuclear fears continue to rise in Ukraine. I'm Trey Yingst in Kyiv. I've got the details coming up.
Lowering blood pressure later in life can significantly cut the risk of dementia, according to a review of 5 studies. The studies conducted in 20 countries included more than 28,000 older people. Researchers suggest any treatment to lower blood pressures is effective in preventing dementia, including diet, exercise, and medication. Days after starting the talk of a dirty bomb in Ukraine, Russia kicks off annual nuclear drills, which are being closely monitored and in some cases mirrored by NATO. Fox News correspondent Trey Yingst has more from Kyiv.
The Russian military conducting nuclear drills on Wednesday as tensions escalate between Moscow and the West. The Kremlin says Vladimir Putin is personally monitoring the drills, which involve multiple missile launches. Intended to simulate what Russia calls a massive nuclear strike. NATO says it's keeping a close eye on the Russian military while also conducting its own exercises in Romania, just to the southwest.
We have not seen any changes in Russia's nuclear posture. But of course, we monitor very closely, and we are vigilant and ready to act if necessary.
The drills come just days after Russia accused Ukraine of plotting to use a radioactive dirty bomb on the battlefield. Both Ukraine and the U.S. say that's not true, and it bears all the hallmarks of a false flag operation that could be used to justify a Russian preemptive nuclear strike.
Russia would be making an incredibly serious mistake if we're to use a tactical nuclear weapon. It would be a serious, serious mistake.
Meanwhile, Ukraine continues to seize the momentum, making progress amid heavy fighting on the southern front. The city of Mykolaiv, not far from the front lines, now taking heavy Russian missile fire, with officials urging residents to take shelter.
Тут глухо.
It's loud out there. My nervous system can't cope with it. You don't know what will be hit, and it's very scary.
Officials here say Russia has targeted more than 40 Ukrainian cities and towns over the past 24 hours. In Kyiv, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
Up next, new species of frogs have been discovered. We'll learn what sets them apart. As you'd imagine, buying Halloween costumes can be frightening at times. KOAM's Carrie Worthen visits one local business and talks with 4 staters on their plans for the holiday.
Just kind of looking around just to see what they have for Halloween, and just kind of, I like looking at Halloween decorations, so that does kind of pique my interest.
This 2022 holiday season could be a little frightening when it comes to buying costumes. According to Retail Dive, nearly 7 in 10 consumers are planning to celebrate Halloween this year.
Me and my friend bought each thing off Amazon. So we bought like a red skirt, the shirt, and then blue ribbon. So it was like total of like $50. So that's why my budget for my second one's a little bit lower than my first budget.
Now, most people that I've talked to in here said they're in here either looking for accessories for their costume or they're here buying a second one.
I already have like a costume that I thrifted, so I just needed like some pieces to go with the thing I already had.
I try to use stuff that I already have or thrift things, because that's just, environmentally friendly, and I try to stay as environmentally friendly as I can. And so just kind of using what I have around me, or borrowing from friends even. Like, I know we all have Halloween costumes, so it's okay to reuse like from a friend, or, just reuse for the next year's.
According to the National Retail Federation, costumes will make up the largest category of spending, with kids and adult costumes projected to hit $2.9 billion. 1 in 5 consumers plan to dress up their pets as well. In Pittsburgh, Carrie Worthen, KOAM News.
The top ways consumers plan to celebrate Halloween are through candy, outdoor decorations, costumes, pumpkin carving, attending or hosting a party. Consumers will have to scare up a little extra money for Halloween candy next week. The cost of chocolate bars and are expected to be 14% higher compared to 2021, according to a report from S&P Global Market Intelligence. Despite this, Americans are not being frightened away. The National Retail Federation says consumers are expected to spend $10.6 billion this Halloween. That's about $500 million more than last year. A Neodesha resident has taken an old city fire and jail building and turned it into a stylish getaway. KOAM's Jana Haldala spoke to her and a few former workers.
You'd wake up in the wintertime and snow would be on you sleeping in the cots in bed because the door would blow open and snow would be on top of you in your blankets and stuff.
The Hook and Ladder Guest House in Neodesha brings back all kinds of memories to the firefighters that used to work and sleep there back in the day, especially for former Fire Chief Dwayne Bansett. Even after the building turned into an Airbnb, Bansett says it was hard not to think about work when he stepped back in the building.
Brought my pager in here with it turned on, hoping alarms would sound one last time as with a firefighter still in here, but didn't get lucky enough to have a call that night. So,
for owner Kim Petrulius, saving the history and educating the next generation is important. She says the retired fire chief was helpful in getting lots of photos, some dating back to 1906.
We owned it about 15 minutes before people started, just not as an Airbnb, but would show up and they'd tell us stories of when they worked here. And it's like, we have to do something with this building instead of just storage.
Petrulis used to visit the building herself. She knows how important this piece of history is for many locals.
If you are 45 years or older, you remember this building. So it's a lot of, and there's still a lot of people who have family who were associated with the building.
In the same building, but on the other side of this wall, was the old city jail. The firemen worked together with police to keep an eye on the inmates. Sometimes that duty led to even more work.
We looked out the door and there was water running down the driveway about 6-8 inches deep, and we couldn't figure out what it was. He had got mad and destroyed the plumbing in the back of the building.
Think of it as a living museum because of what Kim's done with it. I wanted to run the wrecking ball through it when we were done with it because I hated it so bad, but she has fixed it up so nice.
And turned it into just that, a living museum, a place for youth to learn something new and adults to take a look back. In Neodesha, Jana Haldala, KOAM News.
Of the two, the fire department side is a slightly larger space with more room for a family. Petroulis is currently expanding the firehouse Airbnb with an extra bedroom to give large families more space.
Space is becoming
a plan to clean up outer space.
Space is becoming so polluted. I'm Marianne Rafferty with a look at the claw-like spacecraft aiming to tidy up the final frontier. Coming up.
Well, there are just 3 weeks remaining in the MIAA football regular season. And the Missouri Southern Lions are on the road this weekend in Week 9, facing the Missouri Western Griffins. And the Lions are 4-4 in the first 8 weeks of the season. Now, this weekend, going to face a Western team that so far has been the best team in the MIAA in red zone defense. So it's important for Southern to take advantage of every opportunity to put points on the board.
Ultimately, I think the thing that'll help us is the run game and getting those safeties to draw down so that we can take some shots with some of our bigger targets. And so, yeah, they're a good defense, but there's a bunch of good defenses in this league, and we've had success. Our red zone numbers are higher than they've ever been in a really long time. And so the challenge will be getting into the red zone more so than the red zone.
They kind of put us in space on the back end. They like to play a lot of man-to-man. They got a good front seven. So we'll see how that goes. I think our front seven could definitely take care of that. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. They're a good team. I feel like we're a good team, too.
Well, the Big 8 has released its All-Conference Football Awards for this fall. Seneca head coach Cody Hilburn has been named the Big 8 West Coach of the Year after leading the Indians to an 8-1 record in the Big 8 West League title. And Nevada running back Avius Stedman is the league's Offensive Player of the Year. He's been a monster all season for the Tigers. He rushed for 871 yards and 12 touchdowns in the regular season. Stedman also added 261 yards and 3 more touchdowns receiving. He helped Nevada go 7-2 heading into the playoffs. On the other side of the ball, Lamar's Austin Wilkerson is the Big 8 West Defensive Player of the Year. Wilkerson racked up 73 total tackles in 9 games. That includes 8 tackles for loss. He also had 4 pass breakups and a forced fumble. Lamar went 8-1 in the regular season to earn a first-round bye in the Class II District 5 playoffs. Well, it's not softball season, but today, still a big day for the Frontenac softball team. The Raiders received their 3A state championship rings this afternoon. Frontenac actually had a ring celebration today in front of the whole school district. Players and coaches got their state championship rings. They unveiled their championship banner. Now, back in May, the Raiders beat Prairie View 7-1 in the state title game, claimed their 3rd state championship since 2016.
We've all been waiting, for this day for them to be recognized. And, the spring sports, they end at a weird time. You're either out of school, school's winding up, and you come back and you just get into the grind of summer. And so I just appreciate the district giving us the opportunity to celebrate these kids because, it's an awesome accomplishment that they'll live with forever and they'll never forget it. We enjoyed today, and then once we got over and released the banner, I said, we better be back here next year doing the same thing. So, the expectation's there. We have the quality of kids to do it again if we want to. We just have to have the right mentality, the right preparation, and take care of business when we have the opportunity.
And that's it for sports. We're back after this.
Space, the final frontier. It's also, according to scientists, the final dumping ground for tons of technological debris. Fox News correspondent Marianne Rafferty takes a look at the device promising making the clear space cleaner for more sustainable.
Earth isn't the only thing man is polluting. Scientists are now pointing to the overwhelming amount of broken satellites, rocket parts, and other debris littering the final frontier. But British-based company ClearSpace says its claw-like craft can help remove the junk.
If you think about a car, if it breaks down or runs out of fuel, we do something about it. We fix it, we refuel it. We use it again. In space, we don't do that. We treat satellites as a single-use item.
ClearSpace's device features a retractable claw designed to grab debris and guide it to a lower orbit, where it will safely burn and disintegrate in the atmosphere. NASA says it's monitoring more than 27,000 pieces of space debris orbiting close to the Earth. Because the objects move at such a fast speed, the agency warns of catastrophic results if the debris were to strike a rocket also moving at rapid rates.
We really need to think about how we make sure our space activities are sustainable.
ClearSpace is preparing for its first mission in the next 3 to 4 years, where it will clear a piece of floating debris belonging to the European Space Agency. But besides getting rid of space junk, the company's craft will also be able to help restore failing satellites.
We see that lots of satellites are still functioning but run out of fuel. And without fuel, they can't keep operating.
The market for cleaning space debris and preventing collisions is expected to quickly take off. Analysts estimate the industry to be worth more than $14 billion by 2030. Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
Coming up, how a Kentucky man is hoping that videos of him playing dead will land him an acting gig. A Kentucky man played dead more than 300 times and posted the videos on social media. He wasn't trying to prank anyone though. As Jenny Moos reports, it was all in an effort to win a role on a TV show.
It was a TV role Josh Nally was dying to get, and dying and dying and dying. This Kentucky restaurant manager posed playing dead and posted the videos to TikTok over 300 times, all to convince a movie or TV show to let him play a corpse.
It was done out of boredom.
He posed as if he fell off a ladder, stringing Christmas lights. He sprawled in an icy creek, holding his breath while his dogs splashed around. He posed with a pumpkin on his head. And finally, CSI Vegas came calling.
All occupants are deceased.
I take it was not a speaking part.
It was not. I'm a dead body is what I am.
One of his favorite performances was when he posed headless.
I did it with using a mirror to reflect the ground in front of me, so it looked like I didn't have a head.
Once, while posing on his front porch, a motorist stopped.
I had a mouthful of blood that I was going to let dribble out.
That was the most he could manage with fake blood in his mouth. He's had friends play cameos. He recreated a scene from Die Hard.
We have left nothing to chance.
After a year of auditioning, Josh got his death wish. CSI Vegas flew him out west. They didn't pay him, but they gave him a cameo in the morgue.
It was me laying on a metal gurney for about 5 hours.
Wearing a prosthetic, he nestled into a body bag. Executive producer Jason Tracy gave him a 5-star review. When Josh lies perfectly still, he is every inch the equal of Sir Laurence Olivier. And you thought only cats had 9 lives. Josh's formula for showbiz success: over my dead body.
Well, isn't that something? And that's our time for tonight, and thank you so much for joining us. But before you go, we'll leave you with this video of Halloween decorations at 327 East 6th Street in Baxter Springs. Be safe, and we'll do this all again tomorrow. See you then.